Broadcast live.
What a feeling, what a feeling, what a feeling, what a feeling that I am.
So now you back to default settings and you dropped a single. That's that's pretty much default settings.
Factory setting.
Factory setting.
Yeah.
That sounds like, I was just thinking and I was like, okay, I see Jabba's back to factory settings right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always feel that you have to be in a good headspace for you to create that generally. You know what I mean?
You understand.
But I feel that like you don't like the pressure of.
I don't, because I love music. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying to Tony one time, he came to my house. I'm like, Tony, I want to get back to that cypher when we were at Tyro's house. You know, it was that party in December. It was the first time Ray, not Black Label, you know, we're young and there's this massive cypher and people are dancing to house. Like rap wasn't a norm, you know, then. Especially rap, that's Tswana, you know what I'm saying? So like people are like leaving the dance floor, like whatever, and they're coming into the cypher. And I remember it was myself, Toady, Mo, KG, Gomes, and Mo. And I think maybe Tainok was there. We were just going off. And that night, all these dudes know, man, I was like a bitch ass fan. I remember like Kudia rapper, like, you know, Kamokadi, Tudi, Foodie, the big booty, the cutie, big cookie, the cutie, the bougie, the hoochie mama, Siwawa, Zalazara, Goste, Brote, Banabako, Tetere, Batobola, Bote. And I was like sitting there thinking to myself, oh, the world needs to hear these guys, man. Like, you know, I remember shedding a tear about it. And at the time I had a label, I had a record deal already with Silo Chico. We had released Verbal Assassins. And then after Verbal Assassins in high school, went to first year varsity where I got my solo deal as Panzola. And I still couldn't like get the guys over here. When I eventually did bring them over here, it was so hard, man, just trying to bring them in, you know. But eventually when they did, man, kind of everything just worked itself out. I don't even know what the question was. Like I tend to like kind of like get lost.
I said you need to be in a good space. And
Yes. So pretty much like, I mean, that was the space that I was in then, you know. And right now, I'm at that space. Like when you go through anything like, you know, traumatic, whatever in life, they say you go through the 5 stages of depression or 5 stages of grief, whatever, you know. Which is like the first one is you go through denial, then you go through anger, you go through bargaining, you go through depression, then you go through acceptance. And I think I experienced all of that, you know, coming back from the Daraja walk, you know, and EMI having been bought over by Universal, the transition, this harmony between the two companies, everything just kind of like, you know, spiraled out of control, you know, and it really needed a moment of like, you know, silence, you know. And shout out to my woman, she took me out to Thailand on my birthday, and when I came back from there, man, I just kind of like switched everything off, and I was like, I'll come out when I'm ready.
Because sometimes we give and we're not even aware that like the giving comes from nothing. And we've given so much that we think that we actually like always giving from something. We think we're giving from the last thing we gave. And when you actually get away from the giving, it literally almost like goes, wait a minute. I'm actually nothing. Just an idea. I'm just an idea.
Wow.
And I keep building on the idea. You know what I mean?
Wow, I'm just an idea? That's a track, son.
Alright,
OG. I see you. I see you. Okay. Yeah.
But that's really is, you know, I mean, like we are all like just an idea. And the thing is that we always, every day we compete with what we gave yesterday, and that literally starts becoming heavy on us. You know what I mean? So when they took you out of Thailand, they took you out of the ideas that you were the day before. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
You know what? Can I just say, yo, shout out to my boy Fox watching this right now. He's like one of my OGs. There was a time when we were driving back from Rudeport, and he's like, yo, Jabba, can I just be frank with you, man? There's 2 verses in your entire catalog that mean the world to me, you know what I'm saying? The first one is the Momulimi verse, you know, like, say, look, just say it as us going or whatever. And I always call him like, you're a bitch ass fan, nigga. He's like, yo, can I just get a moment, just one time, let me just be a fan, and then we'll move on. The second one, dog, unfortunately doesn't even come from you. It's Slicker's verse. Which one? The On My Own. So he's like, when he starts rapping it, I started hearing the propheticness in it, you know what I'm saying? This is an old verse, like, But you said, please, man, understand, I'm a humble soul. When I
rap,
I feel warmth, but the industry's cold. People always give you love for copies you sold. Wish I could find happiness from my inner soul. But we find it from these companies and what we've been sold. If nobody feels you, then you're on your own. Your frustrations keep ringing, but not your phone.
Yeah, your frustrations.
You know what I'm saying? Can be seen on the streets, you're always at home. Too embarrassed to be in public, the shine is gone. Depression takes place, drugs are the estate. Can't believe your existence is determined by a tape. Realizing, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're so ahead of your time, even when you rhyme about the future, you are reminiscent, in the words of J. Cole, you know what I'm saying? Like, real talk, dog, like, you're right, you know, like, if there's anything that I could summate my career with, you know what I'm saying, beginning of the year, is, you're right, we do have to be careful, you know what I'm saying, like, we hold very strong power, man, like, the power, like, the tongue has power of life and death, you know what I'm saying, and we have the power to, like, you know, change things for the better or for the worse. That's why sometimes, like, I always feel like, oh man, is it really necessary for the whole beef thing, you know what I'm saying, whatever, but it is what it is, you know, we're not in control in life, and you gotta just learn how to trust the process, you know what I'm saying?
You know what, if anyone had to tell me what to tell kids in the game, I don't like telling guys anything in the game.
Because nobody told us to do anything.
And no one also listens, and that's the point, is that it's not our place to tell people, because how are you gonna live if you don't trip?
Boom.
Do you know what I mean? Boom. So if you are avoiding a person's trip, you're gonna trip even harder. You know what I mean? So my sister,
daddy sneaker. Keep talking, daddy. Keep talking, daddy.
No. But here's one thing. But here's one thing I would I'd tell everybody, all the guys that are hot right now, they're in trouble, and all their behavior, especially the behavior that's not of their best, that shows who really their best side. Because most of them, they're not here because they have a bad side. They're here because they got a good side. Creating means that you tapped into something good in you, that someone said, I love that. You know what I mean? You never bought music you hate. That's the problem with streaming. It's for free, so you don't know whether you love it or not. You're testing it. But a lot of these guys that become big, it's because someone said, I love that. Because you connected to something true to you that reflects love. And because someone says they love that, you then start like wanting to kind of almost keep that idea of I love that.
You're chasing a dragon.
You start chasing that idea of I love that. And then you start saying things. You start showing things. You start acting. You start talking.
And you forget that the primary reason why this whole thing began
was because you tapped into a place of love that resonated with so many people. Do you know what I mean? So look, I'm just saying, so I mean, if I had to tell the guys anything, I'd say, you don't have to respond. You don't have to show them what you have. Your fans are not buying your shit because of what you have. Your fans are buying your shit because they go, I'm so happy to see that, because I feel that I was that. I love that. Do you know what I mean? But immediately, everything else that you say you have, that you say you know, the first time they get it. They get it. But you can't hit them again and again and again with it. You know, the talk that, you know, the authority that you are a king or you are a god. All the people, they can't resonate with that because they've been taught other things that are gods. And the only reason they love you is because the only reason they love you is because all the gods that they've been taught they couldn't relate to, but they could understand them, but they couldn't relate to. But then they related to you, and then they could see the work of God through you. Do you know what I mean? So you literally were the stepping stone for them to see the work of God through you. So everything that their parents say, yeah, you know, listen, blah, blah, blah. They parents, we haven't seen that. Oh, but I see. You know, in the hood, all my niggas are strong, but that nigga Casper comes from the hood too. Oh, shit. That's the work of God. You know what I mean? You see that Keenan, Ricky, it's the work of God. Then kids start seeing, then there must be some type of God. Because them niggas are my age and they doing it like that, or they my generation. But we get caught in the we are the gods. And then we made the mistakes too. But I'm saying we, but like there's something very interesting that I always remember about you. Jabba, you had all the endorsements. You the guy that broke the endorsements back. You know, you started this shit, you know, straight. From a hip hop perspective, you started this shit. But Jabba would always be rolling in his old ass BMW. You know what I mean? I always asked myself, what the fuck is Jabba doing with this money? Because money for me, you know, we like, okay, we see you got money, you got a car. But it wasn't like Jabba don't have money, you know? I was always like, what is Jabba doing? I've never asked you this, but it's the one thing I connect you with is that you know Jabba always used to drive that bummed up, fucked up car, and he probably because you probably making more money than all of us in music because you are alone also as an artist, and we were like 7 guys, so it made no difference. You know what I mean?
Like growing up, my dad told me. I can tell you a few quotes from my dad. Shout out to him. He just turned 65.
Shout out.
The one thing he told me was you must never buy a car that's worth more than your house. You know what I'm saying? Growing up at my house, we weren't rich, you know what I'm saying? We weren't poor either. My mom was a lecturer, my dad was like human resource, blah blah blah, road works, blah blah, like some big corporate thing. They've always had BMWs, Mercedes Benzes, like my dad used to like crash them a lot, so they buy it. Like I've seen a lot of cars in my life, you know. When my late uncle passed, he left his BMW, that was the beat up one, to his daughter, who was very young at the time. So I drove it while she was still growing up, you know. And I realized while driving that Beamer, that man, this car is very expensive, you know, like Mataira thing are expensive, like when there's, I mean, because hip hop or the music industry is almost like the farming industry, like you work, then you harvest, you know what I'm saying, then you have got stuff to do, you invest, whatever, and then there's that moment of like now you're working again, like you have to just kind of always work systematically, and there's moments where like you don't have money, and when that happens and you have to now put in a tire 12 stint, I'm like, nah, man, I need to get a small car. The day I do buy a car, the first car I ever bought, I just bought my house, man. Man, things were just going so great, man, like it was just amazing, you know what I'm saying. I just got a house, you know, got my kid in this dope school, and I was like, I'm gonna buy myself a car this year. And I had this gig one time in Cape Town, and I was driving this little, I don't even know what the name of the car was, man. It was like this little Kondoki thing. I was like, yo, I like this, how comfortable this is. Like, it looked like a postman pet car, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I want a car like this. And the Kia Soul had just come out, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, man, let me get that. I got myself a Kia Soul. And even though it was like the same price as a Beamer at the time, it was a lot more like economical, you know. There was just been that thing of like, petrol from Botswana and drive it to the other side of Swaziland kind of thing with it. It was economical. I liked it. It was a daddy mobile, you know what I'm saying? So it's paid off, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, all my money is in my investments. Like the one thing that I want for Leano is
Leano being
my son. Like he must be in need of nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like when I roll out, and to the point where like, you know, if God willing, you know what I'm saying, because everything happens at God's time, you know what I'm saying, God willing, and God forbid, should this happen, you know what I'm saying, I don't want it to be situation now where like he'll be like befallen with all these millions, you know. I want it to be like it's gonna happen systematically until he kind of reaches age 30, where now he's responsible and conscious about money, and he can now get all that wealth. But even that wealth, you know what I'm saying, it's a trust to all our families, because I think also the biggest mistake that we also make as black families and generations, we use that money for ourselves while we're alive, you know what I'm saying, and then our descendants are left hungry, you know what I'm saying, and desolate, you know, and we don't think it needs to pass on this money. It's not so much that the next generation must drive Ferraris. It's the next generation must be in need of nothing. They need to be going to the best schools. It needs to be like a thing, like where like everybody knows these kids play tennis. Like it's not because they're rich, but their family has this thing with golf or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Broadcast live